Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Today we'll be talking about boundaries with children. A warm welcome to today's recording. Many parents feel that they have no control over their children, and I've spoken to parents whose child is beyond past the age of 11. So before my children reached that age, I spoke to other parents and just to get advice and tips. And the message I was getting is that after about the age of 11, 12, so when they start entering secondary school, you really have very little control over these children, and their peer pressure is more important, and it's hard to really discipline them or set boundaries with them. And that wasn't actually what I found, my own experience. And I think it's important to reflect on this. Parenting is a really difficult It's a very difficult skill. It's a difficult task that we need to manage to raise children. One of the reasons it's very difficult is because we're trying to give them something I think a lot of us haven't necessarily have had ourselves. And we're trying to give them something that we don't really know how to deliver. People become parents and they don't necessarily go on training courses or parenting courses. Anyone can become a parent. You need a driving license to drive. And maybe things that our parents did worked and maybe some of them helped, but very few people I speak to have had a nurturing, balanced upbringing, nurturing, Islamic, loving upbringing. They've had elements of different things. Some people have religious upbringing, some people had good boundaries, some people have had a lot of trauma, a lot of different things. But we lack good role model communities. Many of us like to think, yeah, we come from really good families and our parents did everything really well. But the reality is that's not really the case. When we look a bit deeper, we can see there's lots of issues. That doesn't mean we're not grateful for whatever we have. We do need to be grateful. Coming back to the issues with boundaries, because the task of parenting is hard and demanding, sometimes we want to give up on it and just blame the child, blame society, blame the school, blame social media, blame their friends for our own lack of control. One of the responsibilities of parents is to set healthy boundaries. And the way you can set healthy boundaries with your children is by knowing that you actually have a lot of control over their life. This is your parental legal responsibility and rights over your child. And with the rights to feed them, to clothe them, to provide for them emotionally, financially, physically, clothes, food, and nurture them, comes the expectation that they will listen to the boundaries and they will respect the boundaries that you put in place. Each of us is a shepherd and each of us is responsible for our flock. And this is a hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Our children are an amana, they're our flock. We are responsible for them as our parents. Whether we do a good job or not is a separate issue, but they are our responsibility. And we need to strive to fulfill this responsibility. And and I think parents need to really set these boundaries. We need to remind ourselves that we are giving them all these privileges that they have. They might have, they might be able to go out with their friends. You might be paying for things that they want, maybe takeout food now and again when it's a reward for them, things that they need, things that they want to buy, activities they want to participate in. So we're providing for them. They might have their own mobile phone, they might have other luxuries. And we need to explain to them that there's certain expectations from us. And it's a bit like a contract. So make a list of the things that you want from your child. It can be different things. You can involve them in some chores at home. The evidence suggests that children who are actively involved in chores are more intelligent. And I got asked this question last week by a teacher, is how do I manage work and chores and these responsibilities? And one of the answers I gave is that it's actually very tricky to manage chores and housework and working. It's very tricky. And one of the reasons I think we find it tricky is because we're learning how to multitask and we're learning how to do these things later on in life. Often when we're younger, our parents are excusing children, they're excusing daughters and sons. You don't need to do any housework. You just need to study and get the grades. We'll take care of all these chores. So children are learning, they're not learning how to multitask. They're not learning how to manage their time. They're just doing one thing and realizing I don't need to do these other things. And then suddenly when someone's married, they've got children, they've got responsibilities, they now need to learn those skills of multitasking. And it's a far better experience to actually raise your children to be able to multitask as they grow up. So it's not suddenly a surprise that suddenly your daughter's married, she might be working, she might not be working, and she's got to multitask different things, housework, working, looking after children, other responsibilities. But because she's grown up multitasking, because your son's grown up multitasking, helping out at home, helping with the children, working himself, he's also developed that skill. So I think it's something we also need to add on, that children do need to multitask. Coming back to boundary setting, make a list of whatever it is that you want from your child. So, including chores, studying, doing some Islamic studies with them, maybe memorizing some Quran or du'as, doing some Arabic, whatever it is that you want from your child, a certain amount, and then look at what they want from you. So they want some screen time, for example. They want some money for some activities. They want to go and play football with their friends on the weekend. They want to do these sorts of things. They want to go you to take them to the park. So then you make a negotiation, you make a contract with them that you need to fulfill your side of the contract and I'll fulfill my side of the contract. And we need to evaluate it. We need to hold them to account because otherwise what happens is the parent just ends up nagging the child. They end up shouting at the children. Children are like, I'm not doing this and I'm not doing that. And they're just and parents are losing control of their children. We want to bring back in that respect, the love, the boundaries, the communication, the cooperation. And we want parents to take control again of this responsibility and accountability that you've been given because we are highly accountable for our children. We need to make sure that we're listening to that. We also want to have a good relationship with your child. So as well as having this transaction, bringing that into the relationship, which I think is an important part of parenting, grounding them where necessary. And this is traditionally what parents have done. We also need to develop a good, healthy relationship with your child. There should be some jokes taking place. There should be responding to their needs. There should be hugging them. I've spoken to some parents and they've never hugged their children. So I met a mother and she's like, oh no, I don't hug my children at all. And that's quite surprising that why are you not hugging your children? It makes it seem like a very cold relationship where a mother can't hug her children. Make sure every day you see your children, you smile when you see them. You hug them. We're not constantly on our phones. We're looking at our children. We're putting our devices away. We're having a conversation. We're asking them about our day. These might sound like really simple things, but the number of times there's no real positive, engaging interaction. And all that happens is just nagging. Have you done this? Well, the child is going to feel nagged and they're not going to want to listen. We need to bring a positive relationship back in. And when that child loves their parent and respects their parent, they will naturally want to listen more. They'll want to please them. They'll see you as a role model and they'll want to be like you. So there's some tips on how to set positive boundaries with your children, and you must stick to your word. Otherwise, your child won't respect your boundaries. It does take some effort. It does take some practice. Sometimes we feel guilty for taking things away. We want them to enjoy things, but we need to see it in the long run that they are making those choices to have those privileges taken away. We're not wanting to take those privileges away. And if we love them and we care about them, we need to give them tarbiyah. We need to take control and help them to make good decisions because children don't often realize what's good for them. I spoke to somebody today who was a Hafiz, and he was saying that when he was younger, his dad used to force him to go to the mosque and force him to do hifz. And now he really appreciates that when he's older. And a lot of children are like that. When we're young, we don't know what's good for us. If you ask children, well, they just want to scroll all day on Facebook, on Instagram, on whatever they're watching, TikTok. They don't know what's good for them, but they'll look back in decades to come and they will see that actually the decisions, my choices, and things my parents encouraged me to do, they made the right choices. And conversely, if we don't do that, they'll look back and think, why didn't my parents tell me? Why didn't my parents put some boundaries and rules in? So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help us to be good, positive parents with positive boundaries and make this task easy for us. Inshallah, join us in the next video for some more helpful tips. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.